All right, let's dive into something that's, believe it or not, about 2,500 years old, but feels like it was written for us today. We're talking about the core philosophy of the Buddha. And look, this isn't about religion in the way you might think. It's really more of a practical guide, kind of like an owner's manual for the human mind, to help us navigate all the challenges of life.
So, it all kicks off with a question that I'm willing to bet every single one of us has asked ourselves. Why is it that we're never truly satisfied? You know the feeling, right? You get the new job, you're in that new relationship, you finally get the latest phone, and for a minute, it's great. But then there's that little nagging feeling again, that sense that something's still missing. Well, that very question is the starting line for this whole journey.
So where did this all come from? The story starts with a man named Siddhartha Gautama, a prince who lived this incredibly sheltered, luxurious life. Totally cut off from any kind of real hardship. But he was curious. He ventured out beyond the palace walls, and for the very first time, he saw real-world suffering. He saw sickness, he saw old age, and he saw death. And it hit him like a ton of bricks. He realized, wow, this is part of everyone's life. You can't escape it. And that set him off on this profound quest for answers.
On that quest, he put a name to this universal feeling, a concept called dukkha. Now, it often gets translated as just suffering, but that doesn't really capture it. It's much more subtle. Think of dukkha as that low-level background hum of stress in your life, that feeling that things are just not quite right. It's this fundamental unsatisfactoriness that comes from a life spent chasing things that never last. And this is the core problem the Buddha set out to solve.
Okay, so how do you even begin to tackle a problem that big? Well, what's so incredible about the Buddha's approach is that he acted like a doctor, a brilliant physician for the human condition. He wasn't offering blind faith or anything like that. Instead, he offered a clear diagnosis and a very practical treatment plan. We know this today as the Four Noble Truths, and honestly, it's a masterclass in clear, logical problem solving.
So let's break down this doctor's analysis. It's a simple four-step process. First up, the symptom. He says, look, life involves dukkha. It just does. This isn't him being pessimistic. It's just a realistic observation of reality. Step 2, the cause. Okay, so why do we feel this way? He pinpoints it to our constant craving, our attachment to things we want, and our pushing away of things we don't. Step 3, the prognosis. And this is the hopeful part, the really good news. He says, guess what? A cure actually exists. This suffering can be ended. And finally, step 4, the prescription. What's the cure? It's a practical guide called the Eightfold Path.
And that prescription brings us right to the treatment plan itself. Now, it's really important to get this. The Eightfold Path isn't some list of rigid rules or commandments you have to follow perfectly. It's better to think of it as 8 interconnected practices for living a more skillful, more aware life. They all fall into 3 main categories: developing wisdom, living ethically, and training the mind.
And here's the absolute key to the whole thing. The Buddha had already tried the extremes, He'd lived the life of total pleasure and indulgence, and he'd also tried extreme self-denial. He realized neither one works. The real solution, he discovered, was a balanced approach he called the middle way, a path of moderation that avoids those extremes. Okay, so let's start walking the path. Part 1 is all about wisdom, and it starts with what's called right understanding. This is really just about seeing the world clearly, truly getting that everything, from our moods to our possessions, is impermanent. It all changes. And right alongside that is right intention. This is basically checking your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Is it coming from a place of kindness and compassion, or is it driven by greed, anger, or selfishness? It's about aligning your perspective and your heart right from the start. Next up is ethical conduct, which is where that wisdom gets put into action in the real world. This includes right speech. And yeah, that means not lying, but it's also about avoiding harsh words, gossip, and talk that divides people. Then there's right action, acting in ways that don't cause harm, like not stealing and trying to be generous. And finally, right livelihood, making a living in a way that doesn't harm other beings. And the final piece of the path is mental discipline. This is the inner work. It involves right effort, the gentle but persistent work of letting go of unhealthy thoughts and nurturing healthy ones. Then comes the one you've probably heard of, right mindfulness. This is just about being fully present with whatever you're doing, whether it's actually tasting your coffee or feeling your feet on the ground when you walk. And all this leads to right concentration, the ability to focus the mind, to make it steady and clear, often developed through practices like meditation.
So, what's the point of all this? If you actually walk this path, where are you headed? Well, the ultimate goal isn't a place like heaven, but a state of being known as nirvana.
It's the complete liberation from that cycle of dissatisfaction we've been talking about.
And the contrast here is, it's huge. On one side, you have samsara. You can think of this as our default human experience. It's that endless, stressful hamster wheel of craving, getting, and then craving something new again, driven by our actions and attachments. On the other side is nirvana, which literally means to extinguish. It's the extinguishing of the very fires of greed, hatred, and delusion that power that wheel, and what's left is this profound and lasting peace.
So what keeps us trapped on that hamster wheel? The mechanism is karma. And this is another word that gets misunderstood a lot. It's not fate or destiny. It's simply the law of cause and effect. Our intentional actions, the things driven by our thoughts and intentions, create the results and experiences of our lives. We are the architects of our own reality.
You know, if you had to boil this entire philosophy down to a single sentence, it would be this. The diagnosis, the cause of all that dukkha, is our attachment, our clinging to ideas, people, and things as if they were permanent, when in reality, everything changes. Learning to let go of this rigid attachment is the key to freedom.
So I want to leave you with a question to reflect on, because this philosophy of the middle way is intensely practical. Look at your own life, your work, your relationships, your habits. Where might you be living in an extreme of indulgence or maybe denial? And what might a more balanced middle way look like for you? Just something to think about.